We don't have a second timer on these yet.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East Council. This 5th day of March, I'd like to call our meeting to order. If everyone could please bow their heads for a moment of reflection, and please remember the Thompson family. Past Warden Annabelle Thompson passed away this last week, and she was the warden of the county in 2003. Thank you. Confirmation of the agenda. We do have an amendment. I'll let Ashley tell you about that.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Eggetts. Under item 8.4.1, which is the 2023 Annual Council Remuneration and Expense Report, the attachment 1 has been changed. There was an error in the original agenda package with the amounts, so council members have been sent that, and it's been revised on the website.
Okay, so we do have a motion that the agenda as prepared for March 5th, 2024 meeting of Council of the Township of Perth East be approved as amended. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. We have 14 items under our consent agenda. Is there any items anyone would like pulled or they have questions on? No, I do have one that I'd like pulled, and that's 5.1.8. Okay, and the motion that we have is that items 5.1.1 to 5.1.14 as set out in the consent agenda for March 5, 2024 regular meeting of council be received for information with the exception of item 5.1.8, which shall be introduced separately, and the minutes of February 21, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Jerry, second by Andrew. Sorry. I had Jerry on my mind. He didn't put his hand up. All in favor? Carried. So I asked for 5.1.8 to be taken out. I think that we should be supporting this. What they want to do is they want to phase out free well water testing. I know there's an awful lot of us use that well testing at the health units. So I think we should support the resolutions asking that we don't want this to happen, because I'm not sure people will test their wells in the future. So we do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Matthew Pearson, Chair, Osabo Bayfield Maitland Valley Source Protection Committee regarding a resolution of support, recommended phase out of free well water testing in a 2023 Auditor General Report for information. Council directs staff to prepare a letter of support requesting that the province not proceed with a recommended phase out of the free private well testing in Ontario, and that the resolution of support be sent to the Honourable Lisa Thompson, Ontario Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, MP John Nader, and MPP Matthew Ray. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. We're moving to presentations. We have no public presentations. We have no other presentations. We do have one delegation. We have Caroline Baker joining us from the Baker Planning Group, and that is to do with the consent application of BO3-24 of the Hackler Farms. So Carolyn's coming in on Zoom. So welcome, Carolyn. It's good to see you, and the floor is yours.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Really perfect. Good evening, Mayor Eggetts, members of Perth East Council. My name is Caroline Baker from Baker Planning Group. I am representing Hans and Pia Hackler and Hackler Farms this evening with respect to a surplus farm severance lot. If acceptable, if I could share screen, I just have a brief presentation.
Sure.
Thank you. And I know Mr. Bannon might speak later on in the agenda, but just to give a little bit of background, I know it's a bit unusual for the applicant's planner to speak at the township with respect to a consent application for a surplus farm dwelling. My understanding, given connections to county staff, that there is a conflict with staff providing a recommendation. So I'm here this evening to provide an overview of the application and my independent professional planning opinion with respect to that application. So as mentioned, this is a surplus farm severance or consolidated farm operation with a surplus dwelling on one of the lots. The image you'll see in front of you is the subject site outlined in red, just over 36 hectares in size, with frontage on line 34, or known as Highway 8, and Road 145. There is an existing dwelling that's over 10 years old on the southern portion of the site, along with well, septic, driveway, and a small outbuilding. Certainly as part of a consolidated farm to the immediate east of the site on Road 145, you'll see that property is around 40 hectares and as well has an existing dwelling. This image was included in the notice of circulation by county staff. This outlines in yellow the proposed severed lot. It's approximately 2.2 acres in size, as well as an associated easement outlined in blue. That would be for the existing hydro service. So the application certainly includes that request as well. The retained farm is around 35 hectares. It does include an access to Road 145 and an access to line 34. There's also an existing hog facility on the northern portion of the site, to which MDS have been completed and complied with in relation to the severance. This slide shows a zoom in of the severance sketch that has been submitted, along with the approximate location of the well and the septic bed. There is a concurrent zone change application that would come back to the township if the consent application is approved. And this essentially applies the standard zoning utilized in the township for surplus farm dwelling lots. Rezoning the severed lot to A1, which limits livestock and recognizes the property size, and rezoning the retained farm lot to the site-specific A-5. In terms of planning opinion, we did prepare a planning justification report in support of the consent application. It's our opinion that this application does meet the test within both the provincial policy statement and the county official plan for surplus farm severance. Certainly, it is a result of a consolidated farming operation that operates under the same farm business registration number. The size of the surplus residential lot has been kept to the minimum size for those necessary components of the residential dwelling. No land has been taken out of existing or future potential crop production. It does comply with MDS, and as noted, the dwelling is greater than 10 years old. With the existing drain on the southeast portion of the site, there is a portion of the lands regulated by UTRCA. They were circulated as part of this application. We had consultations with them, and they have provided their comments that they have no objection to the proposed consent application. I understand that County of Perth planning staff have put forward conditions should the consent be approved. Generally, the owner is supportive of those conditions, generally standard to surplus farm severances, including entering into a development agreement, completing the necessary survey work, obtaining a new municipal address, completing the zone change to assist in facilitating the consent. At the time of preparing this report, we were yet to receive comments from the Ministry of Transportation. They were received late last week. Given the property's frontage on line 34, they were, of course, circulated as a commenting agency. We understand they have requested a condition that the existing farm access on line 34 be removed as part of this consent application. The owners have reviewed this request. We've spoken further with MTO, and it would be our request that the township consider removing this condition. That access to line 34 for the purposes of farming has been on the site for over 80 years. It was on the site when Hans and Pia Hackler bought the property in 1994. The Ministry of Transportation did approach the Hacklers about 10 years ago when there was some highway improvements about the potential to remove the access, and there was agreement with MTO to leave it. They do use it for their continued farm operation. Their access on the adjacent road, Road 145, accesses their livestock facility. In this regard, given that the amount of land that is used for farming is not changing, they are requesting that they can keep their access as it existed for over 80 years on line 34. That does conclude my presentation. I will stop sharing, but certainly happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. Any questions from council? Hugh?
Yeah, you said about section 28 from Upper Thames. Are they in some kind of a floodplain?
Through the mayor, on the southeastern portion of the site, there is an existing drain. That portion is within the regulated area of UTRCA. A permit is not required at this time because there are no changes proposed to the site. There was a comment from the Conservation Authority that should there be development proposed, a section 28 permit would be required.
Okay, anyone else? Nope, thank you. You can just stay with us till we're gonna get there in a couple of minutes. I got a motion to read first. So the Council of Township of Perth East received the delegation by Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, consent to sever application B03-24, Hackler Farms 5220, line 34, Township of Perth East for information. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so we have no public meetings, no public hearings. So then we're bound to reports, and our first report is our planning applications, severance application, and it is on behalf of the Hackler Farms. But Jeff, you come to the table. Mike has something to say before you start.
Thanks, Mayor Rhonda. And Ms. Baker covered this as part of her delegation, but this application is somewhat unique in that the manager of planning is a close relative to the applicants themselves. So that's why the report looks slightly different in that it's just of the planner advising council as it relates to the application as opposed to providing a recommendation. That's that piece. The other part I wanted to follow up on with Caroline is you're asking that council not include the condition which is listed as condition 7, I believe, in Jeff's report around the MTO piece. I just wanted to clarify, Caroline.
Certainly, if it's okay to speak, yes, we would be requesting on behalf of the owners that be removed so they can keep their existing farm access.
So
Thank you.
Just for council's awareness, that's part of the report, and it's condition 7 that's listed there. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. A quick presentation. We can pull that up. Thank you. Okay, so consent application B0324 was submitted by Hackler Farms, and the lands are municipally owned, or municipally known as 5220, line 34. The provincial policy statement states that decisions on consent to sever applications have to be consistent with the provincial policy statement. New land uses, including the creation of lots, need to comply with MDS requirements. The lands are to be severed are designated as agricultural in the official plan. That designation intends to ensure that prime agricultural lands are protected and preserved. There is an area that is flood and fill constraints area, which is shown along the adjacent drain that is located on the southeast corner of the subject lands that was previously mentioned. The constraint area regulates approval of buildings and structures and requires approvals from the Conservation Authority. The lands are currently zoned as agricultural A. There's a livestock barn on the lands to be retained, and the applicant has submitted that NBS calculation in support of the application. The surplus residential dwelling will require rezoning the severed lands to an A1 zone, and the lands to be retained will also require rezoning to an A-5 zone to prohibit any new permanent residential dwellings. We've received comments back from Blue Water Recycling. They do not have any concerns on the application. The MTOs also stated that the retained partial shall receive all access from Road 145, and they are asking that the field access on Highway 8 is to be removed. The Upper Thames River Conservation Authority has no objections to the consent application, and public notice was provided to the neighboring property owners on February the 9th in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. At the time of writing of the report, no comments or concerns have been received from the public. And so for council's information, as has been mentioned, Perth County Planning staff are not providing a recommendation on the subject application due to the fact that the manager of the department is related to the applicant. I'm available to help answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess, just a little unclear on the MTO access. Is that part of the retained parcel, like the severed lot, the field access, or?
The field access is part of the retained parcel for the farmland. So they have access onto the highway. MTO is requesting that that field access be removed. And they have drafted a condition that is included in the report to ensure the removal of that and to ensure that the necessary permits and encroachment agreements for the works that are being done in that roadway are addressed through that condition.
Sorry, just to be clear, so the field access is on the severed part that's going to remain with the agricultural.
Yes,
so it's not part of the house.
It's on the agricultural parcel, not on the residential parcel of the land.
Perfect. Thank you.
There's two driveways, Andrew, one that goes into the house and then one where the red and yellow lines meet. That's where the second driveway, and that goes into the land part that they want to keep. Okay, Amanda?
This is maybe one and the same, and apologies, I just want to make sure I fully understand. So what Caroline is, the proponent is asking is condition 7 be waived. However, MTO is that's why the condition is currently in there.
Through the mayor, yes. The condition is a request from the MTO. They would like to see that access point be removed. And the applicant is asking that that condition not be included in the decision tonight because the applicant and the owners would like to retain access from the highway.
So what hypothetically would happen if a motion was moved tonight to waive it and it was supported? What would happen with the MTO request?
Through the mayor, the next step is to take this to the Land Division Committee because our manager is not able to sign off on any approval tonight. And being that the MTO has requested that the condition be included, and if you were to remove the condition, then the Land Division Committee would make the final decision on whether or not to include that condition. If the condition is not included at the end of the day, then the MTO could still appeal the decision of the Land Division Committee.
And would that appeal hold up this entire process?
Through the mayor, it doesn't hold up the process to get a decision in place. So the decision's going to be in place at the Land Division Committee. And then the rights to appeal that decision follow when the notice has been given. There's 20 days for either the applicant or 8 commenting agencies or the public to appeal the decision. So whether or not you include the condition now doesn't slow down or speed up the process at all. It's still going through the same process. But then it will still need to go through that appeal process, and both the applicant and commenting agencies have a right to appeal any decision that's made.
I see. Just one other further question. Am I able to ask a question of Caroline?
Sure.
Is that appropriate?
Yes.
So this farm is in my ward, and that's why I'm asking some questions. So Caroline, can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on a bit more of the rationale of what the farmer is asking? There's obviously, I don't know if you're able to elaborate more than what you had already done in your presentation on the waiving of this, the condition on condition 7.
Certainly through the mayor, I'll try to provide some additional detail. In terms of speaking with the owner, certainly they were quite concerned about removing an existing farm access that they use quite regularly for their farming operation. Certainly Hackler Farms has more farms in the area, not just the farm to the east. They have additional farms to the north and the west, and they use this access during farming season for quick and immediate access. And as noted, they do have the access on Road 145 that is connecting to their livestock facility. The access on line 34 is exactly that, a farm access. And I think their concern is that there's no proposed change to the amount of land that's being farmed or how they run the farm, because the land to be severed off for the house essentially contains the house, the well, the septic, and manicured lawn. And they do feel it'll impact their farming operation. And we're concerned that they're not changing their farming operation, but losing that access that they had previously worked with MTO, worked with them to maintain it.
Also, if I can add, if this farm wasn't on a corner, they would need that second access. And it just happens to be on a corner where there is, but they have to go to the other end of their farm to get out that access. Okay, any other questions? What does council want to do? Hugh?
I'd move it without recommendation number 7.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Amanda? Okay, so I'll give you the short version if I can. So that Council of Township of Perth East received the report prepared by the planner dated March 5, 2024, entitled Severance Application B03-24, submitted by Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, on behalf of Hackler Farms for lands described as Part Lot 31, Concession 1, Ellis Ward, 5220, line 34, Township of Perth East, for information. And that council recommend that the County of Perth Land Division Committee or its designate approve severance application B03-2024 subject to the following conditions. These conditions are Perth East: that all taxes are paid in full, that all financial requirements have been met, number 2. Number 3, that the apportionment schedule for municipal drains in the area are reviewed and updated. Number 4, that an amendment to the Township of Perth East implementing zoning bylaw has been adopted to zone a proposed severed lot to permit only a dwelling and accessory uses, buildings, and structures, and to zone the retained farm lot to prohibit any new permanent residential dwellings. Number 5, that the severed and retained lots have been assigned separate municipal addresses and signs. 6, that Perth East, that road access to the severed land and retained parcels are to their satisfaction. And then the Perth County conditions, the first one is that the solicitor, that the certificate of official be scanned and attached to the electronic register of the transfer. And the second one is that the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of the deed transfer or other conveyance of issue of interest in land or the provision of the Registry Act or Land Titles Act. And also, if it has been determined that the subject property is a whole lot of an original township plan of survey and an exemption order cannot be provided by the land registrar, satisfactory proof of same shall be provided by a solicitor, confirmation stating the reason why the exemption order cannot be provided. And the third one is confirmation be received that the property owner has entered into agreement with the County of Perth to prohibit any new residential dwellings on the retained farm lot. So we do have that moved and seconded by Hugh and Amanda. Is there any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Oops. Okay, so that's, the next application is the official plan amendment, and this is the Milverton official plan amendment number 12. Jeff?
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, Mike wants to speak again? Forgot.
Thanks, Mayor Ron.
Sorry.
I just quickly wanted to acknowledge that today we received Township of Perth East a registered letter from the Milverton and District Rod and Gun Club. They mailed it on February 22nd. Registered mail doesn't move that quickly. Apparently, we just received it today. I did want to acknowledge that we will reply in writing to the letter. For the most part, the letter is asking for clarification as it relates to the noise bylaw and the provisions within the noise bylaw as it relates to the gun club. And certainly will acknowledge that in writing for the gun club. So I just didn't want them or any members of council to think that we hadn't received or weren't addressing the letter. We did just get it today.
Okay, Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm sure you're familiar with this application. We did have a public meeting held in 2023, and we did have a report that came in front of Perth East Council on December 19th of 2023. Since that meeting, a report did proceed to the County of Perth Council, and in recommendation of, or in discussion of official plan amendment number 213. That report was taken on January 25th of 2024. And the intention of that official plan amendment was to expand the Milverton settlement area to include the developable areas within the subject lands. The notice of the decision of official plan amendment 213 was circulated and no appeals were received on that application. That appeal period had lapsed on February 19th of 2024. The Milverton official plan number 12 to the Milverton Ward official plan, the amendment, is proposing to designate the lands as residential, highway commercial, and industrial. The related applications for the zoning bylaw amendment proposes to establish R2 zoning, R3 zoning with special provisions, a highway commercial zone, C3-H, an industrial zone, M1 with a holding provision, and a natural resources environment 2 zone, which is NRE2, and an institutional zone, IN. Also, another application has been submitted for the plan of subdivision to develop the property with a total of 72 residential dwelling units, which include 21 singles, 28 semi-detached dwellings, and 17 street townhouses. The proposed development includes a recent expansion of the Milverton settlement boundary, which provides connectivity between the Milverton settlement area and the industrial subdivision that is being developed on the south side of line 21. The development represents the logical expansion of the settlement boundary. Various reports have been submitted. We have provided analysis on those reports with the previous report that was brought before Perth East Council on December 19th. Of particular note, the MDS setback reductions we feel are appropriate in this case. The study has been submitted and meets those requirements in the guidelines. Scoped environmental impact statement was completed and it was peer reviewed. The report concluded that recommended measures, if they're followed, then the proposal would not result in any negative impacts on the protected areas. The proposed zoning includes reduced yard requirements and increased lot coverage provisions that are intended to allow for a more compact development, which meets some of the density requirements in the Perth County official plan. The applicant has recognized that the highway commercial and industrial zones permit a wide variety of uses, which could impact the compatibility of the land uses. And they have suggested that a land use compatibility study is required before the holding provisions can be removed that are being imposed through that zoning application with a future decision to allow development on the commercial and industrial lands. Various concerns and comments have been raised by the public. Of particular note, as you all are aware, is the noise and compatibility concerns. The Township of Perth East has implemented bylaw number 53, 2008, which controls noise within the Township of Perth East. There is an exemption within that bylaw for the existing gun club. That exemption reads that notwithstanding any provision of the bylaw, it shall be lawful to emit or cause to permit the emission of noise or vibration in connection with the discharge of firearms in open space areas that allow a gun club, if in those open space areas there exists a gun club at the date of passing of this bylaw. So the bylaw exempts the existing rod and gun club from noise restrictions on their property. The report that was submitted with the noise study also recommends that warning noise clauses are included in agreements registered on title for each applicable dwelling unit, as noted in the noise report. So the subdivision agreement will include provisions for those noise warning clauses and their recommended window restrictions. Other concerns were related to drainage, environment, traffic and safety, development costs, and existing property access. All of that analysis was provided in the previous report, but if you have any comments or concerns related to that, I'll try my best to answer those questions. Recommendation before you tonight is that the Perth East Council, we've noted that you've defeated a motion to provide a recommendation on official plan amendment 213 and the Milverton Plan Amendment number 12. Perth County did approve official plan amendment 213. Last date to appeal that decision was February 19th. Appeals, as I've mentioned, were not received. So in order to proceed with this Milverton official plan amendment number 12, it needs to be adopted by the Township of Perth East Council before the amendment can be approved by Perth County Council. So planning staff are recommending that Perth East Council adopt official plan amendment number 12. As we feel that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, it conforms to the Perth County official plan and represents good planning. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions of the report? Hugh?
Yeah, Jeff, usually when you do any kind of like noise study, isn't it kind of an industry standard that you would do it at, you would take data at 3 different times?
Through the mayor, I'm not aware of the requirements from the provincial government for those noise studies, but I can tell you that the submission that we have received addresses those guidelines and the requirements.
The other question was, you talked about people signing about if you have a residential house that you need to sign an agreement. What about the commercial, industrial commercial? Those people will have to sign an agreement too, will they not?
Through the mayor. So the noise study recommended that with any new residential dwelling in that plan of subdivision, that we include noise warning clauses. So then, and they would be registered on title, so that anybody that moves into the area is well aware of the noise that's being generated from that operation, from the Rod and Gun Club. There is no requirement for the same type of noise warning clauses for commercial or industrial businesses. They're not there 24/7, or they're not there in the evenings where they might have amenity areas that might be affected by the Rod and Gun Club. So the impacts on those types of uses are much less than what it would be for a residential dwelling.
I think that's a mistake, not including them.
And
through you, Mayor Rhonda, certainly the subdivision agreement itself would be something that this council will approve. So if council wants that clauses included for those commercial and industrial properties, I don't think there's anything that would prevent that from being included in the subdivision agreement.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor Gitz. I have a few questions. It's from the report. So the Watson WSP report comments referred to in this, do we know if that was done, those reports that are contributing to the official plan and are cited in the report? That might be the Baker report. Were they done, when were they finished? Were they done before the, the Smith Macbeth Street subdivision was done, or after? I'm just wondering what inventory levels of houses and how that would affect that number. And if it's relevant in this case, I don't think there's enough properties to do that, so.
through the mayor, those studies were done before we started our review of the official plan. So those numbers were provided by the applicant and reviewed by the County of Perth and Planning. And assurances were given to the land developer that there was a need for residential dwellings in this area. We have updated numbers since those studies were completed, and those are numbers that are being included with the new official plan update. And planning's position hasn't changed on the fact that those residential numbers were, the developer proceeded with the development plans based on the residential dwelling numbers that were included in that original report. And when we have completed our updated reporting, that has been taken into consideration with those future reports that are now in front of council and in front of Perth County Council.
Thank you. So will that affect, I guess another question, this one was kind of, it wasn't part of that consideration, it sounds like. So will that affect the inventory? Will we have to pull, will okaying this pull housing out of residential out of other inventory in the Milverton settlement area, or are we under the total number we're looking for?
Yeah, through the mayor, those numbers have been accounted for before they started doing their calculations and their projections for the new official plan. So allowing this development to proceed or allowing the subdivision to be built would not take away from any of the other projected numbers and the allocations that are being identified in the new official plan.
Perfect, thank you. And the BM Ross stormwater management, has that changed since this writing of the report, Planner Bannon? Is it still up undetermined, the fact that it says that they're reviewing it and it's not complete yet? Is that?
Through the mayor, we do not have any updated comments from BM Ross. That detailed design review will be taken into account when we're bringing forward conditions of subdivision approval and conditions that need to be included in the subdivision agreement. So the subdivision application is not before Perth East Council at this point in time. Tonight we're just looking at trying to get a decision made for the official plan amendment to the Milverton official plan. And a further report with recommendations and further commenting from BM Ross will be forthcoming to a future meeting.
So I guess my next question would be, so other items like water, wastewater, which have a master plan coming soon. I know I'm especially interested because the Shakespeare settlement area shares the same bank account as the Milverton one. And I know we've put a lot of money into it and it's important to make sure we have those reserves there. So with the absence of that, does planning looked at that or had a concern? Did a control F search on this. I didn't find anything about water, wastewater before we go ahead, which and if it will affect many other things down the road, especially if it was planned into the existing inventory is my concern. So is that just not part of this, or is that a later date when we look at water, wastewater?
Yeah, through the mayor. So we do look at those types of things with the original circulation. It has been circulated BM Ross. They've started their review of the servicing components. They have not identified any concern with moving ahead with this development through the official plan amendment. They will look at the more detailed design as we progress through these planning applications. So looking at designating those lands, which is before you tonight, there hasn't been any concern being raised from a higher level at this stage. So it can accommodate the flows. How that gets accommodated will be developed as they look through that detailed design and exactly how they can accommodate those flows. But the servicing capacity is there and they'll be able to do the work, or they'll be able to service the plan of subdivision. But those conditions will come out of that subdivision approval and into that subdivision agreement.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, any more questions, Amanda?
Just one question, and apologies, Jeff, this might be out of the scope of your expertise, so totally understand if it's not something you're able to answer. And I think this is a really unique proposal. I think it's like a first for Perth East, and I think we're being encouraged to have mixed use planning like this. So I think it's interesting. The thing that I struggle with is that we have the gun club that's been there for over 50 years. And I've seen situations in other parts of the province with landfills, the Wilmot Gun Club, where there's, even if there's references in the deed, that sometimes there are still, how should I say, issues that arise and pressure to shut facilities down. And so do you happen to know like what the legal aspect of that? It should like it be included, a reference be included in a deed, and all of a sudden, for example, like what happened in Wilmot, where there was delegations after delegations coming to council, basically requesting that the gun club be shut down, and over time it happened. And so obviously I think, you know, I don't want to predispose how people would vote at this council, but I think that like a lot of us feel very strongly it's an institution of the area. But I mean, we change, like elections are every 4 years. And so I don't know if you're able to speak to that, because I think that's the thing that I'm struggling with is the residential component. But I totally understand like the need of what we're being asked to do. And I understand it is very likely this will go ahead, but it just, for my, just, that's the big holdup for me on this.
Okay, Mike would, if it's all right, Mike will answer that.
I think Jeff will let me try and tackle this a little bit. Certainly, Council Broadhagen, the changes as it relates to council composition, even changes as it relates to the responsible authority for noise complaints, those things can happen, and those are the things that when we respond to the gun club that we'll have to divulge to them. Certainly right now, as it relates to noise in an area like Milverton, we are the delegated authority, meaning the municipality. We have that responsibility. Currently, the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change is the responsible authority as it relates to noise that comes from industrial or renewable energy type activities. At some stage, the province may decide they want to take on more of that authority, and it would leave the responsibility of Perth East. I don't foresee that happening. I also understand your concern about delegations appearing in front of council from the people that potentially move into this subdivision. Yeah, there's no way to prevent that. This is a public process. This is a public government. You guys have been part of this for a number of years. But the provisions do exist within the bylaw. They will be made aware of the bylaw and those provisions. And certainly, I think this council has made, at least my interpretation is that they've given no direction or provided any indication that they intend to alter, amend, or otherwise make any changes to the existing noise bylaw. That's been the position that I've certainly felt from this council, and I don't envision that changing whether or not this subdivision moves forward or not. So yeah, no crystal ball, obviously, and as it relates to the authority, yeah, it's the Municipal Act currently gives us the authority, and that's why we have the bylaw and provided that provision for the exemption. What the future may hold as it relates to that authority or a future noise bylaw, yeah, I can't predict that either, unfortunately.
Okay, Jeremy?
We have under agency comments an email from Dale Erb. I could not locate, there's no email signature on here, what agency Dale Erb was from when I was reading. This is BM Ross. Okay, that's what I assumed, but it didn't say on the bottom of the email, so thank you. So the traffic study, when in his comments, was about the developer taking care of the costing surrounding the left turn lane. So that sort of thing gets put into the subdivision agreement as well. Thanks.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a follow-up from that I scribbled down when Planner Bannon was speaking. So is there something with the commercial industrial area that said it's kind of up in the air? I'm not using the right terms. I know provincial policy statement, you know, you want to have people work where they live, and it's in there, and we want to encourage that. I know there's been a couple other instances where the proponents come back and ask for industrial commercial land to be moved into residential. So I'm just wondering if I could ask a little more clarity on what I heard in your verbal comments a while ago there, Planner Bannon, about that commercial industrial area. I can't remember the exact wording. Is it solid? Is that going to go ahead as presented tonight if it's accepted, or what control do we have of that to make sure that happens? It's, you know, we definitely don't want to become a bedroom community, right? So.
Yeah, through the mayor, the intention is to develop those lands as commercial and industrial. So the designation would put that into place tonight if it was approved, or adopted and then approved at the county level. Once that designation is in place, it stays in place until you would receive another official plan application down the road if there was ever an intention to change those lands to a residential designation. Knowing the concerns with the Rod and Gun Club and concerns with noise buffering from those lands, I think that having that commercial and industrial component there speaks volumes to protect some of the residential component in that neighborhood, and removing that and trying to go completely residential, I think from a cursory review, it'd be difficult to support such an application from a planning perspective from our end.
Okay, any other questions? We have no more questions. We do have a motion. And it says that the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report dated March 5, 2024, prepared by the planner entitled Application for Official Plan Amendment, Milverton Official Plan Amendment Number 12, submitted by Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, on behalf of 1803018 Ontario Inc., affecting lands described as Lot 6, Concession 3, Milverton Ward, Township of Perth East, for information, and that Council adopt Milverton Official Plan Amendment Number 12, and that Council forward the Milverton Official Plan Amendment Number 12 to the Perth County Council for approval. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jerry, second by Jeremy. Any more comments or questions, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm just thinking ahead to the commercial space that's there. We may get more complaints from residents that once they get established, those commercial operations may be louder than the gun club. So that's just something I wanted to put out there.
Okay, anyone else? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Bob.
Given that this was a little contentious in the past with delegations and concerned residents and non-support from members of council, it is interesting that there were no appeals for all those that took the time to phone us, email us, attend meetings. This, I guess, official plan amendment would really be in the new draft official plan anyway, whenever that's passed. The province wants housing, we all know that. The planning department recommended approval. The approval authority for the county council approved it. And if we were not to support it, we would have to be on the hook to pay the costs to hire a lawyer and a planner to fight it, I guess, right? And it's obviously going to get approved by whoever makes those decisions, right? I do remember this happening one other time in Perth East where we didn't support a recommendation and it was inevitable that it was going to get approved, right? It was just kind of a joke that we didn't support it, and I guess the same conditions applied to this other than people trying to look good. It's going to go ahead, so I would hope that would be supported and this development could go ahead sooner as opposed to later.
Okay, anyone else? Andrew?
Thank you, Marigitz. Yeah, so as we're in the vote here, I kind of tiptoed around a bunch of the concerns I have, stormwater management. I think a lot of this with the natural resource area there, the capacity, and we are undertaking a wastewater review. There's a lot of balls in the air, and I think that this should be at minimum deferred. And as far as us having to hire another planner to advocate for us, and I would rather spend money advocating for the people than I would for a proponent. So that's where I stand on that. I won't be voting for this. I think it should be deferred until some of the other items are more clear for everybody.
Anyone else? Amanda?
I just have a question, and I know we're in a council discussion right now, but one of the things that I often wonder is that the appeal process is not commonplace for the average person. And so I don't even know how to do it. So I just, that's my only thing that I did want to say, because I did get a lot of calls on that. I know others did too. I did want to flag that. I think that people, some of the conversations I've had over the years is that people struggle navigating these processes, the government processes. They're not always easy. So I did want to just put that out there, and I didn't know if we have like an easy thing of like how you do an appeal. Like, I don't know, like if you went on our website, is there an easy way to navigate that? Like, I don't have the answers to that.
Do you want to, Jeff?
Through the mayor. So I don't believe that it's on our website. It would be included on the provincial website, explaining that process. And when people do have concerns, by all means, you're more than welcome to send them through the planning staff, and we can help them through that process. If they're not sure exactly what needs to be done or how to get through, fill out the forms, or to complete the submission, we can put them in touch with the proper links on those websites and also try to give them some sort of guidance.
Like, if someone came to the planning department with questions, planners would not say, hey, you should go through this appeal process, right? Like, that's not, it was only if somebody would ask, then you guys would help with that. Or I don't know. I just want to make sure I understand the process. So if somebody ever asks me, I can say, hey, this is what you have to do, or here's somebody that can help you. Because I actually, if somebody called me tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to walk them through the appeal process, how to do it.
I think.
And I just don't know.
Wes is going to.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, it is on our website. There is a local planning appeal tribunal information on the Perth East website.
Okay, Jeremy?
Sorry, if I'm not mistaken, anyone who sent correspondence about this will get notification of the decision here, right? And in that letter, will it say, here's what the appeal process is? Isn't that, I thought that was our practice.
Ashley.
Right, it's for the county it is, but this is Milverton, yeah.
Yeah, the notice is very similar to the county notice that was sent out. It doesn't list out the entire steps, but the initial step, if you want to file an appeal, then they would be in touch with me to start that.
It's available to people if they've sent us correspondence previously, they are aware. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, any more? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Okay, Councillor McMillan,
Yay.
Councillor Broadhagen,
Nay.
Councillor McAlpine,
Nay.
Councillor Matheson,
Yay.
Councillor Smith,
Yay.
Deputy Mayor McDermott,
Nay.
and Mayor Agates.
Yay.
So carried 4 yay, 3 nay.
Okay. We'll move to our third application. That's a part lot control application submitted by Maxwell Perry of Caden Keller Homes. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So part lot control application 01 2024 was submitted by Caden Keller Homes for the lands described as lot 22 of plan 44M80, and the lands are known municipally as 141 to 143 Pew Street. So the applicant is seeking approval to pass a bylaw that will exempt the subject lands from the part lot control provisions of the Planning Act. If exempted, then the applicant will be permitted to establish 2 units, which would be a semi-detached dwelling on separately conveyable parcels of land. They have submitted the 2-lot development plan, and the lot is currently under construction. The subject lands are designated as residential in the Milverton official plan. The zoning of the lands is R2-13 in the Perth East zoning bylaw, which allows for the construction of a semi-detached dwelling. Both lots that are to be completed or created would comply with all provisions of the R2-13 zone. The County of Perth is the delegated approval authority for the Planning Act for bylaws to remove the part lot control lands within Perth East. Once approved, the exempting bylaw will be in effect for 2 years. Staff are supportive of the proposed part lot control exemption, and as such, planning staff recommend that Perth East Council approve the application and forward the bylaw to the County of Perth for approval. I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Part Lot Control Application PLC-01-2024-PE dated March 5, 2024, prepared by the planner for information, and that Council approve Part Lot Control Application PLC-01-2024-PE submitted by Maxwell Perry of Caden Keller Homes for the exemption of part lot control of lands described as Lot 22, Plan 44M-80, 141 to 143, Pew Street, Milverton Ward, in the Township of Perth East, and forward the bylaw to the County of Perth for approval, and that the approved bylaw 13-2024 be provided to the Township of Perth East to be registered on title. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have no reports from the CAO. Under the clerk, we have requests for variation of assessment schedule, and we have Eric with us tonight. So Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So yes, staff did receive a Section 76 petition from landowner Norman Irving. A 76 petition is not seen all that often, but it is a request for a variation of the assessment schedule. Essentially, the proponent or the requester believes that their property is assessed typically too much, and they would like an engineer to write a report to have that assessment schedule changed for the entire watershed. We did circulate this request with our drainage superintendent, Mr. Bill Dietrich, and he provided comments which I've included in the report. At this time, staff are not recommending approval of this petition because we believe that it will not result in a significant change. The drain was also just recently fully cleaned out, and the landowners had to bear that cost through the Drainage Act. So we believe that adding a new cost onto that will just be a little too much for them. So it's not worth the financial burden on the landowners to go through the process of a Section 76 and an engineer's report. So at this time, that's why staff are not recommending to proceed with the petition. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Okay, Hugh?
Yeah, when this would have been done, they would have been billed out for that clean out already, would they not?
Yes, the cleanouts for all the main drain and all the branches have been billed out already.
Okay, so that guy could have came to, could have complained well before this, could he not?
Yeah, because of the old, the Section 74s were petitioned under the old bylaw. So they had to go forward under the old bylaw and build out under the old bylaw. So during that process is when he filed, or when he kind of brought up his concerns with the assessment schedule. However, those petitions had already been filed, so it would have been too late at that time. And so now that he's received the bill, he has officially petitioned it as well, or again.
Okay, other questions? Amanda?
Through your worship, just wanted to clear a conflict of interest. It's been some time, but just wanted to flag that. So do I leave the room now? How does that? It's been a while.
Up here in your interest?
Yeah, I'm declaring, yeah. As well as it, so. But I don't talk to you, but you know.
Yeah,
So.
fill that out, and then, yeah, you can just.
Sit in the
Okay,
audience.
thank you.
Okay, other questions? Bob?
In your report, Eric, it says that it was originally available for the 1/3 OMAFRA grant and it's not eligible now. Can you just explain that?
Certainly. So yeah, typically the 1/3 grant, from my understanding, is deemed if your property has farm tax status. So at one point in time, this property did have farm tax status. However, after corresponding with Mr. Dietrich and looking into the property, that status is no longer there. So Mr. Dietrich is under the impression that it would not be eligible for the 1/3 grant anymore.
Bob?
So another question, this is probably for you, Ashley. Given that it takes so much money to circulate a report and contact an engineer, at what point do you not address someone's, like, what money level do you not, like, to me, this $676, this report probably costs more to write than that amount. So at what point do you say, no, we're not going to, what's the threshold, I guess?
We don't have an actual threshold. Typically, if a report has not went forward under Section 78 or a petition 4, so this is the first time with a Section 76 that we're requesting it to not go forward, that would have been brought forward at the time of the engineer's discovery, depending on what they discovered, and usually that would have resulted in maintenance rather than a full engineer's report being completed. That's answering this question. So the $600 is what he paid for the maintenance work that was completed. The cost of a new engineer's report would probably cost all the landowners relatively the same amount as what they just paid for their maintenance. Does that answer?
Sure. Okay, any other questions? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the request for variation of assessment schedules, Section 76 of the Drainage Act by property owner Norman Irving for the Maitland Municipal Drain, part of Lot 21, Concession 16, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East for information, and that Council deny the request for variation of assessment schedule, Section 76 for the Maitland Municipal Drain. Okay, move it. He will move it. We need a seconder. Jerry, now you have a question.
Yeah, is there, if this person, can they appeal this to something higher, the drainage tribunal?
Yes, he does have the ability to appeal the decision to the drainage referee.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Eric. Okay, we're going to move on, and we're next notice of provision policy, and Ashley, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Eggetts. This policy is essentially just a housekeeping policy. It was last updated in 2002. So as everyone can imagine, there's been changes to social media and newspapers. In the current 2002 policy, it's very restrictive with where we have to provide notices. So it lists the Beacon Herald, Shopportunities, and the website. With Shopportunities, there is no longer weekly releases, it's bi-weekly, and Stratford Beacon Herald doesn't reach all of our users, so staff are finding we have to put articles or our notices into a few different newspapers to try to reach those people. So that's one change. And then the financial section, which is on page 2 of the 2002 policy, has been removed so we can follow what's restricted in the Municipal Act, or the guidelines we have through the Municipal Act for those notices. And the other acts that we have to follow, planning, drainage, taxation, those acts. So if there's any specific questions, I can answer those.
Okay, questions of the report? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Notice Provision Policy CLE-2024-03 dated March 5, 2024, prepared by the Municipal Clerk for information, and further that Council give 3 readings to Bylaw 14-2024, being a bylaw to repeal Bylaw 69-2022, being a bylaw to prescribe the form and manner and times for the provision of notice policy for the Township of Perth East. Excuse me. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy, second by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Ashley. We're going to move to finance, and the first item is the 2023 annual council remuneration and expense. Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Eggetts. Council has circulated to them the 2023 council remuneration and expenses schedule. If there's any further questions, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Questions of the report? Hugh?
That's not the revised form, is it?
I think that's,
Yeah, not on the screen.
not in the screen.
Revised.
No, but the revised one will go in the minutes.
Correct.
Do you want me to read the revised, the changes? There we go. No,
I think that's the revised one, correct?
no.
No, not yet.
No, not yet?
No,
Okay.
he's just gonna bring it up.
Just give us 1 second.
Just a motion will be that the revised.
Correct. But, yeah, we'll put it on the screen.
Just bear with us here, it's coming. Maybe Paula, you can explain the differences while we're waiting just to see it. What's,
Yeah, through you, Mayor Agates. The council, the changes that happened were in the conference expenses column. There was a hotel deposit for the Roma conference that got allotted to Councillor McAlpine in error. It should have been split by the 3 attendees, which would have been Deputy Mayor McDermott, Councillor McAlpine, and Councillor Smith. So the numbers for Deputy Mayor McDermott, instead of the 3466 showing on the screen, it would be 341671. And for Councillor McAlpine versus the 4,300 on the screen, it would be $3,750.63. And for Councillor Smith, the amount, there's the revised amount of $4,667.76. So the overall expenses didn't change, it was just the allocation between the councilors.
okay, any questions? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report prepared by the treasurer dated March 5, 2024, entitled 2023 Annual Council Remuneration and Expense Report FIN-2024-06 for information. Moved by Bob, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and our next report is Development Charges Reserve Funds. Paula?
So my second report, the annual 2023 development charges report, there, just to summarize quickly, there was $543,528 collected in DCs in 2023. And there was $338,481 allocated to projects for funding the projects. And the ending balance in the development charges reserve as of December 31st, 2023 was $724,125. And on the screen is showing our 2023 non-statutory exemptions. And you'll note that there was just under 2.1 million in exemptions. If there's any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Development Charges Reserve Funds 2023 Annual Report FIN-2024-07 prepared by the treasurer dated March 5, 2024 for information. Moved by Hugh, second by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. And the third report is Parkland Reserve Fund. Paula?
Thank you. So my final report is the 2023 annual report for the Parkland Reserves. And I'll just summarize again a little bit on this reserve. There was $46,503 received in 2023 for the Parkland Reserve. So that's between budgeted transfers to the reserve as well as payment in lieu of Parkland during 2023. And that also includes the interest earned on the reserve. Now in the 2023 budget, there was utilization of just under 71,000 from the fund. And the ending balance at the end of December 31st, 2023, there was 127,654. And council should note to date, year-to-date allocation from this fund that funded projects is around $500,000.
Okay, questions of the report? No questions. We have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Parkland Reserve Fund 2023 Annual Report FIN 2024-08 prepared by the Treasurer dated March 5, 2024 for information. Moved by Jeremy, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Paula. We're going to move to Public Works and Parks, and we have tender results for supply and apply dust suppressant. Jake, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Eggets. This report covers the tender results for annual dust suppressant. The low bid was 552976 Ontario, or otherwise known as Holland Dust Suppressant. They've done it the last few years for us, and we've been pretty happy with that. Anticipated that it will be within our budget. It is certainly an increase, but we were anticipating that. So if there are any questions, I'll try and answer.
Okay, any questions of the report, Hugh?
How much was it last year?
I believe it was 10 cents, 10.35. Okay. So it's about if I remember right, it's about a 9 and change % increase.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Tender Results, PW-2024-02, Supply and Apply Dust Suppressant, PUB-2024-04, dated March 5, 2024, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and further that confirmed by this resolution, tender PW-2024-02, Supply and Apply Dust Suppressant be awarded to 552976 Ontario Limited for the unit price of 0.1147 per liter excluding HST. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Hugh, second by Jeremy. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and the other report, Household Hazardous Waste Agreement. Jake?
Thank you, Mayor Eggets. This report covers the Household Hazardous Waste Program that has gone on for the past several years in the township. Our current agreement expires shortly, and this is an extension for a couple of years with the City of Stratford and also Perth South. This is proposed for a 2-year agreement. The reason for that is that Perth South's agreement expires then. So it would be ideal to have our expirations coincide, and then we can look to extend beyond if we so choose. It's anticipated again that this will be within our budget. Prior to this program, we went and did it on our own back in 2013, and you're looking at least double the cost of through the city program. So this is, in my opinion, a good choice. If there are any questions, I'll try and answer.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Any questions of the report? Seeing no questions, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Household Hazardous Waste Agreement, City of Stratford, PUB-2024-05, dated March 5, 2024, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and further that council give 3 readings to bylaw 15-2024, being a bylaw to enter into a household hazardous waste agreement with the City of Stratford to permit Perth East residents access to the household hazardous waste disposal program for a 2-year term commencing April 15, 2024 and terminating May 15, 2026. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jerry, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jake. Excuse me. We have no reports from Building and Bylaw Enforcement, nothing from Recreation and Community Services, nothing from Fire. So then we move to correspondence. We have 2 items under correspondence. The first one is from Josie Hancock from the Wild Hog, requesting for Alcohol and Gaming Commission liquor sale permits. Council wish to do what? Hugh? You move? Okay, so moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. That the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Josie Hancock, the Wild Hog Country Market, dated February 21, 2024, regarding a liquor sales license application with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, for information, and further that council support the issuance of a liquor sales license for the Wild Hog Country Market at 2785 line 34. So yes, we're wishing to allow it. So that was moved by Hugh and Amanda. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and the second is from Chris White, Grand River Conservation Authority, and this is about their Canadian Heritage 30th anniversary planning. Any questions of that? No, we do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Chris White, Board Chair, Grand River Conservation Authority, GRCA, dated February 26, 2024, Canadian Heritage River 30th Anniversary Planning for information. We have a mover and a seconder, moved by Jerry, second by Amanda, all in favor, carried. Okay, now we're moving to the mayor's meeting log, and before you is where I was in the month of February. Any questions on that? If not, then council reports, any of the committees or boards that people sit on. Does anyone have something? Jerry?
Yeah, I attended the Melbourne Business Association's AGM this last week. They basically just voted in their new executive and went through their event planning for the year. So they're continued to be very active within Melverton.
Okay, are you the past president now?
No, I can't give that job up, no one wants it.
Well, good for you. Any other boards or committee reports? Amanda?
Just on behalf of Fire Committee, so we met in the Sebringville station recently. We actually went over the schedule for the year, including some upcoming events. We got a great update on the numbers for the Family Day Pancake event that happened. Over 500 people were in attendance, so it's the largest one yet. And so we are still there's a number of different events coming up in for Fire Safety Week, and some fundraisers. I think there's a Mother's Day breakfast, I think, in Milverton. So there's a whole big schedule, and if that hasn't been circulated to all of council, we can certainly do that so that everyone's aware in case you want to attend any of the events.
Okay, anything else? No, then we have a motion, where are we? Oh, that the mayor's meeting log dated February 2024 and the verbal reports by members of council as followed. So the report by Amanda and Jerry. Received for information. I need a mover and a seconder. I'm losing it. Moved by Bob, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, we have 4 bylaws to be read at first, second, and third and final reading. We have bylaw 66-2023, and that's the bylaw to adopt amendment number 12 to the Milverton Ward Official Plan 1803018 Ontario Inc., and that was item 8.1.2 tonight. The second bylaw is 13-2024, and it's a bylaw to exempt from part lot control of lot 22, Plan 44M-80, 141 to 143 Pew Street, Milverton Ward, and that was 8.1.3 tonight. The third one is bylaw to prescribe the form and manner and time for the provision notice and repel bylaw 69-2022 2002, excuse me, and that was 8.3.2. And the fourth bylaw is 15-2024, and that's a bylaw to authorize the signing of agreement for the municipal household hazardous waste management disposal program with the city of Stratford, and that was item 8.5.2. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, do we have any notice of motions? Other business? Excuse me. I have one thing under other business. We've had 4 open houses for the official plan. There seems to be an awful lot of questions in regards to that official plan, and there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So we're asking if people are calling and commenting, please send them to the planning department and have the planning department comment on their questions. And also in Sebronville, there is a, what do you call it? A subdivision wishing to go in there. There's an official plan amendment coming forward. They've had their public meeting in Perth South. And there's also a lot of misinformation out there on it as well. So if people call and ask you about Perth East and what we're doing, please have them call the planners as well, and the planners will give out the information. So moving on, do we have any announcements? Closed session, we do have a need for closed session. We have a motion to go in there. Okay, that the regular meeting of council, the Township of Perth East, be temporarily adjourned at 8:20 p.m. to permit the holding of a meeting in closed session for the purpose of litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and it's a legal matter. So we need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone else. Hope you have a great rest of your evening. Okay, that Council of the Township of Perth East rise from closed session and reconvene to regular session at 8:56 PM. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, that the closed meeting was held and only closed session items identified were discussed in closed session. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Then we have that Council of the Township of Perth East approve the closed session minutes of the meetings of January 9, 2024 and February 13, 2024. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. And that bylaw 16-2024 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on March 5, 2024. We read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Andrew, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. And the last motion of the night is that the meeting be adjourned at 8:57 PM. Moved by Bob, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Great. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye.